Hello everyone. I'd like to talk to you a little bit today about the kinds of personal qualities that I look for in HPC people in general and in programmers and in technical people specifically. The two most important personal qualities that I believe are essential for technical people to possess are determination and persistence. These two qualities are essential when working in the information technology field, which can be a frustrating place to work due to a variety of factors related to people, processes, and the technology itself. When it comes to programming, a determined programmer will keep working until such time as they have built a program that runs successfully and performs the functions required of it. During the process of developing code, a programmer will confront many obstacles which they'll have to overcome in order to reach a successful end result. A programmer who is persistent will keep working to overcome bugs and to perfect their code. This process can take a long time and thus requires determination and the ability to handle stress, and importantly, to work through frustration when things don't go as planned and the program doesn't run as expected. The type of person who potentially will make a great programmer will be extremely determined, to the point of obsession and compulsion. If you're the kind of person who engages in any kind of obsessive, compulsive activity, then you may naturally have part of the mindset that is required to make a great programmer. Commitment to excellence, to learn new things are important for a programmer whose skill and whose work is akin to a football player playing a game of football and trying to kick goals through goalposts that are constantly moving. The ability to adapt to change. The ability to embrace change and to keep kicking goals is important. A programmer should have attention to detail, which helps a lot in programming and especially in debugging code. Research skills are important as well, as programming languages and development stacks are constantly being updated. Existing code is breaking due to software and server updates. It's a constantly moving field, time especially waiting for nobody. I'd like to share a personal anecdote about my late grandmother. She was the type of person who constantly wrote things down and engaged in many types of repetitive behaviour. She was also obsessive about structure. There were many times as a kid that my brothers and I remarked to her that she was programmed. My late father was an engineer and was highly intelligent and very well regarded by his peers. He was an extremely driven and determined man who had an obsessive need to build systems. He would have made an excellent programmer. There's no doubt in my mind, judging by my behaviour and the results that my behaviour has had on the people around me, that I inherited qualities from my grandmother and from my father that have enabled me to become a highly proficient technical person. You too will no doubt have an elder in your family that will come to mind when you think about some of your personal traits that have been of benefit to you in this world. It's not an accident that certain types of people are attracted to the world of high technology. A highly intelligent person with a focus on achievement will naturally be attracted to computing due to the challenges that can be found in the field and the outcomes of building successful systems and what these outcomes can have on the world and its people. I have a good friend who is one of the laziest men that I know. I grew up with this man, having gone to high school with him. I've known him for almost 25 years now. I've never seen a person who was as lazy as he is. You wouldn't believe some of the examples of his laziness as it staggers belief. It really does. But laziness is, for the most part, seen with those of us who have good judgment to be a negative quality, generally speaking. But there is a certain application of laziness that is beneficial to those of us who work in technology. The ability to find the closest path between 2 points, or the quickest, most efficient way to do something, is valuable for technical people. Whenever I'm working on a particularly difficult problem in HPC, I'll think about my lazy but street smart and learned friend, and I'll ask myself, what would he do? How would he go about solving this problem, given his bone idle nature? This has come in handy for me on numerous occasions because I'm an extremely determined person, and if you combine determination with certain applications of laziness, then you can come up with solutions to problems faster, and the computing field especially rewards faster work. People who are able to see or who are able to come up with new analogies can make for exceptional HPC professionals. An analogy is a comparison in which an idea or a thing is compared to another thing that is quite different from it. It aims to explain that idea or thing by comparing it to something that is familiar. Metaphors and similes are tools used to draw an analogy. In the HPC world, to me, administering a supercomputer seems a lot like conducting an orchestra. Everything has to be in tune and working together in harmony and in parallel. If there are problems with the compute nodes, the management nodes, the queuing system, the storage, the license server, or anything else, then jobs are either not going to run properly, will terminate before completion, or the queuing system will crash. At least with an orchestra, you can hear when something is amiss and correct it quickly. But with a supercomputer, you're searching for multiple needles in a haystack using maps, logs which pinpoint where the needles are. But most of the time, it's not the needles that are causing the problem. It's the hay next to the needles. Call me maestro, people. This is an analogy. It is something I came up with myself after some time working in the field as a HPC system administrator. I look out for people who are able to come up with new analogies like this, as it is both a sign of intelligence as well as an indicator that they could potentially devise innovative solutions to complex problems by applying their imaginations. In my own life, I've had the pleasure of working with some exceptional people. People I consider more intelligent and better people overall than myself. One of the best programmers I ever worked with was in my startup, WhatMed. He came as a personal recommendation from the first technical person we brought on board. He was in his early 20s and was an extreme introvert. It was very difficult to get him to talk openly. My extroverted business partner, who is a full-time recruiter, remarked to me at the time that he would never have put forward this guy as an applicant to a client company. This is interesting because I knew from the moment that I met this individual that he had both the IQ as well as the personal traits required of a programmer, and that if he continued to work as hard as he was at programming, then he could have made an absolutely brilliant programmer. In the 2 years that I've worked with him, he proved me right again and again, coming up with innovative solutions to very complex challenges that I was giving him. He had an obsession with programming. He was programming for many hours outside of university. His professors, of course, had already recognized his potential. His people skills had not yet been well developed. Now, I'll take a brilliant programmer like him with underdeveloped people skills over an average programmer with good or great people skills, because I know how difficult it is to find great programmers, whilst people skills are, generally speaking, quite easy to teach and can be developed over time with the right amount of socialization. The exact thing that great programmers avoid due to the majority of people, generally speaking, being, let's just say, not on their level. Introversion is also a trait that's common in programmers. Natural introverts spend a lot of time inside their minds. I am a natural introvert. Growing up, I was always reading. I spent a lot of time alone. I continue to spend a lot of time alone to this day. This company of mine, INTJ, I started as a necessity and is based on the belief that I will be able to recognise high potential or currently brilliant and highly experienced HPC professionals. Speaking of brilliance, I've recently had the pleasure of working alongside a HPC professional from IBM. I spent over 2 weeks with the man working on parallel file system research. If he is watching this video, he knows who he is. This guy was without doubt the smartest man that I've ever had the pleasure to work alongside. I recognised his talent immediately and I was astonished at his abilities. The expression, "you know it when you see it," is apt. This guy had an extremely high IQ, together with many years of experience in the HPC field. Watching him work was a real privilege. I've never seen someone create a long and a complex bash script by hand from memory without looking up any of the code. He made me quietly question my own intelligence in comparison to him, and it's rare that I do that, and I work with some very smart people. The mark of a secure leader is the ability to put their ego aside and to hire people more intelligent than themselves. If you're smarter than me, I hope to recognise this, and I will certainly not be insecure about putting you forward as a HPC candidate. One of my most important goals in my company is to recognise, to work with and to recruit HPC professionals who are smarter and or more experienced than me. I hope to be the dumbest person in the room. If I achieve this, then I know that I have surrounded myself with a team of HPC professionals that are exceptional. Generally speaking, a highly intelligent and experienced person will not work for a boss who is their inferior. I hope that the HPC professionals that I attract will not consider me as a boss per se, but merely a conduit, if you will, a facilitator, a link into companies in the HPC space. I'll leave you today with what's known as the 10,000 hour rule. Malcolm Gladwell, in his book Outliers, says that it takes roughly 10,000 hours of practice to achieve mastery in a field. Gladwell studied the lives of extremely successful people to find out how they achieved success, and he found that there were no naturally gifted performers. The psychologist found a direct statistical relationship between the hours of practice and achievement. No shortcuts, no naturals. You already probably know how Microsoft was founded. Bill Gates and Paul Allen dropped out of college to form the company in 1975. Sounds simple, doesn't it? Drop out of college, start a company, and become a billionaire, right? Wrong. Bill Gates and Paul Allen had thousands of hours of programming practice prior to founding Microsoft. First, the two co-founders met at Lakeside, an elite private school in the Seattle area. The school raised $3,000 to purchase a computer terminal for the school's computer club in 1968. A computer terminal at a university was rare in 1968. Gates had access to a terminal in 8th grade. Gates and Allen quickly became addicted to programming. The Gates family lived near the University of Washington. As a teenager, Gates fed his programming addiction by sneaking out of his parents' home after bedtime to use the university's computer. Gates and Allen acquired their 10,000 hours of practice through this and other clever teenage schemes. When the time came to launch Microsoft in 1975, the two were ready. I would argue, however, that both Gates and Allen had the raw ingredients for success going in. Both are highly intelligent people. These two were going to succeed at something without a doubt, whatever they put their minds to. Importantly, to which their minds and their natural abilities were suited. Anything like that, they would have succeeded at. Look at Gates. He was the prototypical nerd. We all know who the nerds are at school, and we know who they are today. Instead of putting them down, we probably call them boss. A jock would never spend 10,000 hours practicing programming. A jock is not attracted to working on a supercomputer. A jock is out doing sprints at the track. By their deeds you shall know them. By your own deeds you shall know yourself. If you're watching this video, then you know that you're well suited to this field. Get in contact with me. Make yourself known. Let's open a dialogue and get to know each other as people and as peers. Until next time, all the best, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Clark Towson.